What your portfolio looks like in real estate, and what kind of investments have you already done in real estate?
I jumped into the game in the early 2019. Started first with investment on what is called as residential homes, but I wanted that portfolio to grow. Shortly after that, I started jumping into Airbnbs.
What will be the best way for me to get funding to start investing in my real estate business?
Well, one thing for sure is, once again, we have to go back to the scope of the business. Banks, they're in the business of making money. So if you want them to give you money, they'll be asking you, what am I lending against? Am I lending against your wishful thinking? Or this is a project that has been signed by the city? This is a plan that has been completely drawn up, so they know that this is something solid. They have to review all.
How much expenses is going to come? So if you have your numbers written out correctly, and if you've underwritten the deal correctly, and you present that to the bank, and they see the numbers that are viable.
What is the most important things in your life?
Family is everything. The most important thing in my life is family.
All right, actually today it's so incredible because for the first time, we getting a guest for the second time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
We're bringing back one of our previous guests who, for the first time, he was very inspirational in what he shared, and we wanted to bring him back this time for him to talk about real estate. So if you're interested in investing in real estate, tune into this episode in any capacity, any way. We're going to be speaking about how to invest and the best type of investments within real estate that you can make.
All right, so you've got a chance to learn how to invest, how to make money, how not to invest, and what to do if you want to get started. So what are you waiting for? Let's go back to the video. Chris, I know this is not the first time having this podcast. I remember we had the first episode last time and it was incredibly great. And today you're back. Why?
I'm happy to be back. It's always a cordial to be able to respond once you've been invited. So I've been invited, and I'm glad to be back here so we can talk about some real estate business.
Yes, it's incredible to be invited, and it's really an honor to have you back here.
Always
I appreciate it. And somebody can see maybe the title of this video or the thumbnail of this video, right? And they are so curious and interested to really know what's going on in the video. Can you just tell that person why they click this video?
Well, I like to think that they click on this video probably because they are interested into real estates, being inspired, finding some folks that are already in the game that can give them some gem on where to start from, and just sharing some experience of who I am, what I've done, and where I'm heading, and hopefully they can find me interesting enough, and hopefully probably in the near future to be able to partner at some level to do some business together.
Fantastic. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that have the same aspirations of business, like you just mentioned, and particularly in real estate. So give us what your portfolio looks like in real estate, and what kind of investments have you already done in real estate?
Sure. I jumped into the game in the early 2019. Started first with investment on what is called as residential homes, but I wanted that portfolio to grow. Shortly after that, I started jumping into Airbnbs, and I have a few doors, probably 4 up to now. But more than that, I got into it because I wanted to I was fascinated with the real estate industry. It's just not like one size fit all, like you have developments and stuff like that. One of the aspects of real estate that I've always wanted to do was actually developments. But in terms of raising capital, it requires that I started first as a realtor, which I am. I am licensed here in Texas, and I'm also licensed in the state of Georgia. And I use that capital to build in DRC, and I'm currently building in Kinshasa, and I'm also building in Lubumbashi as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. One of my interests is definitely real estate. Some people, if you follow the podcast, you know as well. So any type of area what you would say is very interesting within real real estate? What would you say is the highlight? What would you say people should start with?
Uh, it's interesting. I think the decision on where to start from usually depends on how much capital you are willing to put in the game. To some people, putting that capital might be your first time ever. To somebody, they've done it all over again. They have the banking system backing them up, but they do have some high investors, so risk may not be that much of a factor. But if you are somebody who's just now getting started into the game, I think you have to consider how much risk you are willing to take. You know, depending on how much capital you have, you can go 1 to 5 doors, 10 doors. But if you're somebody who's being backed up by a bunch of $1 million right behind you, you can go all in. Most of us, when we talk about real estate, what we see is typically, the residential housing that we have here in America. But I know folks that do real estate, but they into agriculture. Folks that do real estate, they into what's known as air rights, which is something that we might be able to get into it just in the next few minutes. I've also seen people that do real estate. You ask them what type of real estate you do. They're like, I do cemetery real estate. Have you ever heard of that?
No, no.
So, and those are just levels into this game. But while we talk about residential, there are also some folks, the very first deal they've ever did had nothing to do with residence whatsoever. It's something to do with high-rise tower, commercial spaces, and things like that. So I think that question is basically will weigh so much on how much capital you have to put into the game.
That's incredible. I mean, you mentioned risk, and just only that way of risk. I heard somebody saying that not taking any risk is actually the biggest risk.
I agree.
So if you don't take any risk in life, it's the biggest risk that you really have in life. So tell me, a person who's really starting, a person who doesn't know anything about real estate, a person who really willing to get in the game, they have capital, they have enough money that they want to risk, and they might say like, I'm ready to lose this money if I don't get any success in what I'm doing. What's going to tell that person?
So I wish real estate was like a car, like you purchase a car off the driveway and you go and you forget all about it. But unfortunately, even if you were to acquire all that portfolio, you have to learn the language of real estate. You have to start dealing with the county. You have to start dealing with the city. You have to start dealing with property management. You have to start dealing with tenants and stuff like that. So you eventually will have to acquaint yourself with the language in the real estate, right? Now, for somebody that's willing to take those risks and is willing to be into the game, I think if you've never done it before, the best advice I can give you is to surround yourself with some mentors, people that can tell you what to expect. We are in a world where things tend to be a little bit dynamic. You might jump into the game. In your city, they are authorizing Airbnb. Just by the time you make a closing on the home, the next month, they close on Airbnb in the city. So you are stuck if you're not willing to be as dynamic as the regulation is changing into the city. So you have that one aspect. So I always tell people, surround yourself with people that speak real estate and breathe real estate day in and day out. That will take you a long way, and it might also save you from a lot of frustration that you will otherwise encounter on the road.
That's so impactful. To the point that I just remember something that really recently, because it's a kind of a game that I'm getting myself to. I don't really know too much. Taylor is really the person that is into that, but I'm getting into the game. And there is a word that I've heard. You mentioned about the county, you mentioned about the states, you mentioned about the tenants and all of this stuff. So where can I start first? Do I start first with a mentor? And if I have a mentor, do I say, okay, I'm going to purchase a house and then start Airbnb the house? Or should I go and start rent the house and start Airbnb the house?
So I will strongly advise for somebody to sit with a mentor, because you can purchase an Airbnb, but what if you are the number 1,000 Airbnb in that one zip code? So it might not be a profitable business to you. So, but once you have a mentor, depending on what type of business you are looking to do, they might be able to advise you on whether, because we have a language, or we have a word that we say in real estate, which is location, location, location. And what that word simply means is it matters where you purchase your property at. Some property might be multi-million dollar property when you purchase it, but because of what's surrounding it, by the time you have folks that do appraisal, they come, they look at the property, its zip code, its location, they're like, we value this thing at 400. But if you never had any mentor that will advise you whether or not it's a good deal, you might find yourself into some dead water by just getting your skin into the game. So yeah, mentorship is key.
Yeah, location is very, very important. I think it's one of the most important things, apart from just the number of units.
Right.
When you're looking at deal. So let's create the ideal scenario, or just a scenario, and then speak about that. So say, for example, we have somebody in the audience that's watching us that has $10,000, and they're interested in investing in real estate. Where could they start, and where should they start?
Ooh, 10,000. That's a very good question because I'm just trying to look at the markets right now. We're in Dallas, Texas. The average home price is somewhere around 350. So 10,000 doesn't not really close on an FHA mortgage. So I think I might bump the number to probably around 13 to 15, right? That gets you at least into the FHA. But let's just say you cannot go above 10,000, right? What you can probably do is invest within a real estate firm. A lot of people, because real estate does also bring its headaches, just like any other business. Some folks that they don't want to deal with the phone calls, they don't want to deal with all the analysis of the markets and stuff like that. What they will do is they will call a real estate firm, a real estate company. They're like, hey, we've got 10,000 we are looking to invest. And once they have the 10,000, that 10,000 might just be what my brother on the left side is missing to actually get onto a deal. So then you might be able, they might be able to say, okay, give us your 15, your 10,000. We're gonna make a deal on here. After 365 days, we'll be able to come back to you with 15,000. So you're basically making $5,000 by not putting your money into the bank, but instead investing it within a real estate firm. So then, coming into next year, you now have an actual $15,000 that can help you put down as an FHA down payment on your first purchase. That might be an option to consider for somebody who's that low of cash. It's already like even $500 you can get into the game, but right now we are looking at a scenario at where you're starting from and what you're trying to accomplish. See, I have a real estate license. I'm also providing property management service, and as I'm developing in DRCs, I also pitch my project to different investors. Hey, this is what I have going on. I'm building a 50 units, I'm building a 10 units. If you give me this much, once I finish with my construction, I'll give you one door. You see, then you have to think, like, okay, I didn't do nothing, and this guy just calls me back. It's like, hey, your permanent unit is ready to, is ready, this is your key. So it's like you have to be able to leverage all those contacts, all those informations that you have.
Actually, what you say, it just reminds me the deal that Hilton Hotel.
Mhm.
It's kind of they have a deal where you can own one of the room,
Right,
so you become like a member of them.
right.
So you just pay a commission fee.
So I think what you are referring to, those are called, they have a term, those are called timeshare.
Okay.
Those are called timeshare. So you basically, they will say this unit belongs to
To
you,
you,
right? And you as the owner, you'll have to pay like $300. You can fly to any city where there's Hilton. You're gonna check in. You're gonna use this much time.
Yeah.
But while you are not there, they're gonna rent your unit to somebody else who's traveling in. If it flows into the positive, if it cash flows into the positive, you're gonna get paid. But if it doesn't cash flow into the positive, they're gonna contact you and say, hey, you have to pay $300 to make up for the mortgage for these units. I've seen a lot of those plans when you travel to Vegas, Miami, Hawaii, places like that, or Orlando down here in Florida. They will try to sell you timeshare. It's one of those things. If you travel a lot and you're like, hey, you gotta take your vacation every quarter or whatever, it might come across as a good deal. But if you're somebody who travels once in a blue moon, it might not necessarily be a good deal to you. But I've seen people that like them just as much as I've seen people that don't like them at all. So it just kind of depends.
There's something I've seen online, actually, that's Taylor. You can tell me more about it. there's so many podcasts that I've watched and people talking about real estate, and it's more of they say like it's not good to purchase a home.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I saw Credit Cardone. He's one of the biggest real estate agents in the United States to say. He said, no, buying a house is the stupidest thing you can ever do.
It's really the dumbest thing you can do. And I heard, I forgot his name. He said that purchasing a house or a home, it's a really huge mistake you can do.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
So it's interesting that you brought him up. I watch him quite a bit. Do you guys follow him?
I mean, yeah.
He has a lot of live on
I was
Twitter.
just in a conference this past
Conference, yes, on
Did
X.
did he have his house burned in Malibu? Yes or no?
No,
Was that his house?
portion.
It was a portion of it. So that's half a house. So you have to understand he's a businessman.
He's a billionaire. He's a
He's a businessman. He's worth 500 or whatever billion. Sorry, maybe not 500 billion. He's worth billions of dollars by owning apartment. But basically, it's what I just explained. You know, hey, I've seen this deal come into it, and I'll give you a certain number of units. That's technically what it does. So he says that because he's wanting you to invest with him. But the question is, if you look at the home price 10 years ago, homes are much more expensive today than they were 10 years ago. If you wait 10 years from now, they're going to be more expensive 10 years from now than they are today. So now, while you are playing the whole waiting games, he is out there, every single one of his apartment units are growing up in equity. He's never going to sell those complexes at the price that he's purchasing them at. If they were a bad deal, why does he own so many of them?
Well, let me go a little further than that, because the idea is not that single family property is bad, because it's a good investment, especially if you're wanting to build a family and live in a family.
Right.
The idea behind what he's mentioning, not just him, but just in general, it doesn't cash flow like you need it to.
Let me ask you this question. What is the alternative of not owning a home?
Okay.
So which one is worse?
Okay, here's the thing. This is the idea I'm trying to say. You can have one single property that brings you, say, for example, $2,000 a month. Right. That's the cash flow that's coming in on a single property because you're renting it out or Airbnb, Verbo, or whatnot. I do short-term rentals, mid-term rentals as well, long and long-term. So I understand that game. But that can only give you so much. All right. So it becomes a liability because you have a mortgage on it. If you're vacant, you still have to feel it. You still have to feel it.
Right.
So despite the fact that you have a home, which is an investment that you made, it becomes a liability because it cannot bring you the maximum amount of cash flow that you can have.
Right.
Earlier, I was mentioning the most important number. One of the most important numbers in real estate is the number of units that you can potentially have. Because if you have one single family property, how many units do you have? One. But if you multiply that and you have many, like we were just talking about 50 units in one building,
Right.
you've 50x one single unit that you can potentially have. And if you own that, not just by yourself, but potentially with other partners and whatnot, like you're looking to do, then you've significantly increased the margin and the revenue that you and the profit that you can make.
I totally understand, but there's like a size level to consider to the amount of investments. Obviously, with $300,000, we are possibly looking at acquiring one single residential property, right? But the reason you are purchasing a $300,000 home is because when you are getting a mortgage, they are considering how much income do you have. Okay, so if your first income is not going to go out there, they're not going to give you $5 million.
Well, it's not
in that
gonna
sense,
anybody at all.
right?
You can't just on a single or by yourself. Even if you are a millionaire, typically you wouldn't buy a multi-family property that's 200 units. You wouldn't do that.
That's why when you're getting a loan, they are trying to figure out, is this a business you are running or is this your place to go that you're gonna call home? So because of that, there are different factors that they weigh. Obviously, they're like, okay, if he's gonna be sleeping here there's less risk. So therefore, they give you a little bit less mortgage, but at the same time, they also give you less interest. But if you bring them a crazy project, by crazy project, I mean Texas, everything now, they're building the shopping center for billions of dollars. So the bank is willing to give you that much money as long as they do see that, hey, you know what you're doing. And also the bank's gonna be on the safe side. Now they have what they call insurance on the loan. And also beside that, they're also giving you a crazy interest. Your mortgage interest right now in the markets for residential homes is somewhere between 6.9 to 7.1%. But that same bank that gives you 7.1%, if you call them tomorrow, be like, hey, I'm looking to purchase the multi-family complex across the street. They are selling it for $50 million. The bank is going to be like, okay, we're going to give you $50 million, but here's the interest rate, which is 20%. So you now have to evaluate whether it's something that's worth getting
We're gonna
into.
have the real estate president.
Hey, that plays a huge role.
Yeah.
That really plays a huge
Real
role.
estate
Hopefully we'll get to discuss about it.
Sure. Great, wonderful.
Let's go backwards a little bit, just for the audience, because we want them to also understand. I know we're mentioning multi-family property, single family.
Yeah.
There's also wholesaling. There's fix and flip.
Yes.
Talk about the different types of real estate that somebody can invest in.
They are subdivided into two mainly. You have the residential side, which people can build condos, single residential home, and you also have commercial side. And on commercial end, you can build a Disneyland. It's just a matter of you explaining to them the scope of what is that you are trying to build. Now, within those two categories, then you have like subcategories, or which I call, there are people that do real estate on oil. You ask them, are you in real estate? He says, yes. Then you're like, what type of real estate you do? They say oil. So like, are you into oil or are you into real estate? They're really into real estate. There's another portion within the real estate called air rights. If you guys have heard of it.
Alright.
Yeah, so basically these guys, they don't own the land, but they own the space above the land. So these are the property where you will see like a sign that's saying, hey, like you just reading on the type of signs around the road. That property, it might be adjacent to yours, but it has no same value because you might own the land, but you do not own it. So if you are from a country like Congo, oh man, I'm about to spill a lot of games here. But, if you are from a place like Congo, it's not a law in the book yet, but people are already doing it. It's called mineral rights. Here in Texas, there's a mineral rights. What that means is, this is your land, we sold it to you, but 10 years from now, if you find gold, you find oil, you find diamond, we own it. So then to come back to the deal, to say we have to reconsider this place here. And they have the rights to literally tell you, hey, this is how much money we think this place is worth. We give you your money and then you move aside.
And that same idea applies to with single family or personal home, which is a good investment. But what happens if you paid your home off after maybe 10, 15 years, but you haven't paid the taxes?
Yeah.
The government comes in and takes it's not your home.
You have to understand the idea behind it, because unlike most places in Africa, in America we don't purchase the land. In America we purchase the home. We purchase the space to build the home on. So that's why we are called home owner. We are not called landlord. Even in our complexes that we live in, why are we forced to pay the HOA? Because somebody else has made the deal and says, hey, I'm going to be building on here, but to keep the value of my land, I'm going to subsidize the HOA service so that the quality of this neighborhood remains the same.
And I hate the HOA.
Nobody.
I think you got to look at it both ways, right? If you look at the average community with HOA, whether you like it or not, it's presentable than the average neighborhood without no HOA.
Well, that's kind of a fact as well, but in some other neighborhoods, the people that live there want to keep the neighborhood clean and expensive as they are. and they take care of their homes and everything. You don't need the HOA.
Are you guys from Africa?
You know, it's a different mentality. You know, well, for example, in my neighborhood, we have the HOA, but I don't know if it is because of the HOA that all the houses are clean, but you're not gonna find trash outside.
No.
Let me tell you something. You travel, the trash there was yesterday. You left the trash outside after a day. You can give me a $500 bill. Or your trash can was standing still on the road. I wasn't there.
Right.
It was overnight.
You know, that becomes a little bit, gotta get into the regulation on how that HOA is set up.
And the
Because
rules
most of
are
HOA
necessary.
Yeah, because most of HOA, when you really get to understand them, is they can't just do anything, right? So that's why they have like these yearly votes where the resident get to voice their opinion, they get to change the laws and the rules and stuff like that. So while you may not like it, it might actually be a provision that was voted or that was proposed by your next door guy. You just
I
may
know.
not know that.
Well, there's a dude. Well, I don't know how to describe the guy.
Yeah.
He walks even in people's driveway to look if your car is, you know, at the inspection if it's damaged. Hey, bro, what you doing? This is private property. You're trespassing right now. Trying to take a picture to send on you have a car that is not because
He
it
is
says
probably
it's-
working with the HOA.
Exactly. That's what I realized. It's like, oh, I understand. So you're the person reporting the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then if I show your picture, your face, everybody here, you're going to kick you out of the neighborhood because
Yeah.
everybody has the HOA.
There are guys like that, it might be with the HOA, but it's also living in the community.
Yeah.
Or it might just be somebody that the HOA has hired to literally drive every single day to the community, just to make sure that everything just looks intact.
Yeah.
And just for the audience.
Oh man, we went into a whole lot. We went from 0 to 100 pretty quick.
Speaking of HOA, just for the audience, I would just recommend if anybody wants to get into real estate, especially if you're going into midterm rental, short term, like with Airbnb and whatnot, know your city regulations.
Yes.
Know
Yeah.
HOA rules that's structured around just either short term or multi-family, just zoning.
Yes.
You have to understand it very well. Otherwise, you can potentially lose a lot of money.
Mhm.
It's more risky if you don't understand those regulations a little bit.
Yes.
So
Sure.
let's get into. I mean, just like you say, you just got from 1 to 100 at the same time, and I'm like, oh Jesus, let's go back to work. So, how do I analyze a really potential investment in a property?
So you have two ways to analyze it. Number one, if you are now very familiar with the game, right, and you are working with some investors, they've done a lot of deals. But there is a specialist, if I might call him that we call appraiser. Their job is literally to give some type of value to properties. What do those appraisers do? They literally go into computers to try to compare how much properties around that zip code or on that street are selling for, to try to come up with some type of realistic evaluation on how much they think your property costs. So whether you are buying or selling, at some point you will have to bring in an appraiser to do what's called CMA. CMA simply stands for comparative market analysis. And then they have some computers logistics where they're able to kind of see whether or not you have a pool on the backyard and whether that's an asset that's being added to your home and stuff like that. And most likely when they give you those numbers, you know, unless you are not by any means looking to negotiate, 99.9% of the time they are accurate. So I think if you are wanting to see how much the market is being analyzed, I think most often you'll have to use those appraisers. So they're the one that kind of helps out a lot of realtors, sellers, and buyers and stuff like that.
I can go a little bit further than that. I think if you're the best way to be able to analyze a deal, just look on the cash-on-cash return, meaning what you're going to be able to get out, net profit.
Right. But that one will only work if that's an existing business you are getting it from somebody. So you already have some figures. But if this is a brand new commercial space that we are building, everything that we do is just prediction. So we don't have any numbers for us to be able to look at our return on investment whatsoever. But if it's something that you've already worked with, you already have your expense sheets that we can actually look at, then we might be able to determine whether or not this is a deal that we can jump in or not. So the risk is a little bit minimized in that sense. But let's say this is a brand new plaza, We're expecting that this neighborhood is going to get built within 365 days. Hey, this is America. Deals, sometimes they will promise you there's a mall coming across the street. And before you know it, they scratch it off and they start building something else.
So what I was going to say with that, you got to do with calculate the NOI or the net operating income.
Right.
So all the expenses that you can anticipate for the investment, and that's going to be what will help you just calculate the cash on cash return and the net profit that you can make.
Yeah.
And also taking a look at the market value, just what's around that
Around the property.
that property.
Yes.
So that you can, just like you were mentioning, if something needs to be appraised, it's typically not just on that the value of itself. It's probably around what's what's around it.
What's around it as well. Yep, 100%.
Okay, so today, let's say I don't want to invest, right? I don't want to purchase a house to make money. Say I'm just a young man. I have a really decent job. I'm getting $150, $150,000 a year. So, and I want to have my own house. So, do I need a broker? Do I go on Zillow by myself, find a house, a deal, and then purchase a house, or do I need a real estate agent, or what do I do?
You can purchase a home without a realtor, but it's a risky thing to do. Okay, because hey, then realtors, somebody actually like right when I was about to close the deal, they're like, hey man, you're about to get this a lot of money on commission. What do you do? Like, what is a real estate job? We read the fine prints. You will never know how many people get screwed on their real estate transactions simply because they showed up without a realtor. I'll give you a perfect example. This happened during COVID. There's this family that was moving from one area. They wanted to move to this really, really expensive neighborhood. By expensive neighborhood, those homes were simply for $100,000. COVID hits, home price doubled. So their home that they were already under contract for $400,000 suddenly is being sold in that same neighborhood for $1 million. So they're like, okay, well, before we even move into the community, we've already made $600,000. But it came time to close. The builder's like, all right, well, now our homes are being sold at 1.2. The guy said, well, that's not our problem because we went under contract in 2019. So then they start arguing. The guy's like, all right, I'll have to bring in my lawyer. I'm going to take it to the courts and all. The builders are like, all right, let's do it. They went to the courts and then they showed the signature. The guy signed without reading the fine prints. And the fine prints, because this is a small builder, the fine print says this transaction is only effective after I've handed you the key.
Oh.
So now here comes somebody else that never watched the whole process, that was not there when you were picking up all the flooring and stuff like that. They're willing to give $1 million and you are willing to give $400,000. Why did that happen? Because you didn't have a realtor. Because as a realtor, I'll get a chance to read those fine prints. And even if I don't read it, I have to send it to my brokerage. So if you get screwed to that level, at least instead of you suing up the builder, which I can guarantee you 90% of the time you're going to lose the case, you can at least go to the broker. You can at least go to the realtor. Be like, hey, we hired you for this. There's a reason why we are into the game. And plus, it's an added service. It's something that you really do need, especially if you are living in a city like Texas, where the neighborhood often is being valued by school district. Okay. These are things that you might be in love with the home, but you don't know much crime takes place in that area. You might be in love with the home, but you don't know how the school system is being rated. So once you get a chance to sit down with an expert realtor like me, I get a chance to see who you are, where you're coming from, what you do, what type of lifestyle you have, and what you're looking to get out of life. You might be like, hey, this is a pretty good home, but I don't think it's the one for you. And at the same time, not to discourage you, obviously, it's like I'm working for you. I know you want something really good, but what I'm trying to do is making sure that you are safe, you are protected, your assets will appreciate and not depreciate over time, because that does happen sometimes.
How much does the neighborhood has to do with the buying or selling of the house?
It's a lot, man.
They're talking about the crime rate and all that.
Yeah, it's a lot. If it's a neighborhood that's filled with crime, people will try to run away from it, as far as I can tell. You
And if
know,
it's a gated, nice community,
if
everybody's
it's a
gonna
gated
want
nice community,
Yeah.
we might be living in the same house plan, but just because my neighborhood is gated, that's an extra layer of security that the ungated community doesn't have. Because of that alone, the price will be something you'll be able to notice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Chris, how much do I need? Because you say something that Taylor asked, I have 10,000 today, and then you give the advice that you can invest it with some
Real estate firm. Yeah.
real estate firm. But let's say personally, hypothetically, right? How much does somebody really need to start digging?
Even with $100. Now, the reason I give $10,000 to go to a real estate firm is because that's something that I've done in the past. But if you have $500 right now, if you just pull up your phone, you go to any stock trader, Robinhood, you name it, you can purchase Taylor Morrison stock. You can purchase Pulte stock. You can purchase all these big builders, Great Home stocks. Many of these companies are publicly traded. So you can technically own into their profits. $500, you don't have to call customer service. You don't have to see the balance sheet of that company. You just put in your money the same way that we do with Tesla and any other stock. So that's for somebody who doesn't want to kind of, they're a little bit on the fence side of the business. But if you are somebody that would like to get like a fixed promise return, like, hey, give us 10,000, we'll give you 15,000, that type of deal. In that case, I'll say, go look at some real estate firm. There's plenty of them. They are always looking for money. And I've seen some people.
But there is
that make
something
some
online
money.
though.
Yeah.
Something online, people. If you go online right now, with typing, they say like there's a way that you can invest in real estate with no money. So why would you tell me about it? Can I start investing with no money at all?
In order to teach you, they will require you about $10,000, $5,000.
This is America. We deal with what's known
This
as
is
capitalism.
America.
I don't think people to just post that video online actually cost them money. So I don't see how you're gonna get into real estate with zero money. Because in America, money is key, right?
Yeah.
But what's even most important is also your credits. I've seen people, they don't have money today, but they know for sure they're making money at the end of the year. And they can still kind of walk some type of deal, structure their businesses some type of way, where instead of them presenting the income as the entity that's requesting the loan, but now they're presenting a business. So instead of you being qualified on, I'll give an example. It's four of us, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of you presenting your income, you don't have an income, I have an income, you don't have an income. But what can protect all of us? Might be the fact that instead of us presenting an income, we call it a single business. So all they are looking for in this case, they are looking on whether or not that business is profitable. They don't care who works for us, who doesn't work for us. What they care for is whether or not we have an existing business that's cash flowing positive.
Okay.
So that can be one way to look at it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's definitely a good way to just get some funding, because we can also speak about some business funding that you can acquire to start some of these investments.
Because keep in mind something also to not overlook. You might have the finances but might not have the credits. You might have the credit but do not have the finances. But you guys can be covered by what's known as a venture capital or venture type of business, where you just create it as an entity, some type of business, one to capital, and you submit it to Wells Fargo. Now,
So, talking about it, now let's say I want to start investing in real estate. I don't have fund, right?
Yeah.
And then tell me, what is the best way to get fund? Is it going to get credit by the bank, going to get a hard money lender, or should I go get private investor? So what will be the best way for me to get funding to start investing in my real estate business?
Well, one thing for sure is, once again, we have to go back to the scope of the business. Banks, they're in the business of making money. So if you want them to give you money, they'll be asking you, what am I lending against? Am I lending against your wishful thinking, or this is a project that has been signed by the city. This is a plan that has been completely drawn up so they know that this is something solid. They have to review all that. But if it's just you and your buddies, oh man, you can never go wrong with people that believes in it. That's why I'm an advocate of networking. Get to network. There are a lot of people right now as we're speaking, they have money. The problem is not the lack of money. The problem is they cannot think like you are thinking.
No, it's
They are
their
looking,
time.
they're like, hey, you know what? I'd rather give this money away. I'm just looking for that one guy that has that specific project that I can give him my money and I know that I can trust him. If you can build that bridge, you get paid. A year from now, he gets paid. The next time, you don't have to call him. That guy is going to call 10 of his friends. Hey, I invested with this guy and this is how much return he gave me. And I think you guys should give me a shot as well. So that can also be a good way to collect money. Private lenders, use your friends, use your family, people that know you and they believe in your capacity and your capability of being able to just get deals done, you know. But if it's gonna be you never done nothing before, you're just calling people like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Do we have 5,000? Let's put it into this game. People are like, wow, we don't have the drawing, we don't have the location, we don't have the address. Why am I giving you my money today? I want to make sure that if I give you my money, I give it to you on a specific day, and I know for sure on a specific day you promise me or you give me some type of promissory notes that will be guaranteeing me that 300 days from now I'm going to be getting you 10%, 18% or whatever terms of that deal might be. But it's definitely doable.
And just like it's a stopping wall for somebody who has never done it before, because you asking me to bring your experience, you asking me to bring papers, you asking me to bring numbers, and I've never done it before. I don't know anything about it, but I want to get into it.
Right.
So, and I need somebody to help me out to get where I want to go. But you asking me to, it's like I'm going for the job. I just graduated from college, and you're asking me for 5 years of experience. So,
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Some banks, depending on what bank it is, they would lend money based off the viability of the deal that you have approaching that you have there. They might require net worth. They might ask for you to show them that you're an accredited investor, that you have actually some backing in front of you and behind you, so that you can make the investments. But they don't necessarily just have to look at your credit score or your personal financial background. If the deal is big enough, depending on what you're looking for, they'll look at the viability of the deal, how much cash flow it's going to bring, how much expenses it's going to come. So if you have your numbers written out correctly, if you've underwritten the deal correctly, and you present that to the bank and they see the numbers that are viable, they're going to lend to it.
Yeah.
What about what's I've heard? Like, I learned that about 2 weeks ago about what's called tax lien. People who buys other people's home when they cannot pay tax anymore. And I heard that the city would put it in auction.
Yeah.
I learned about. I was just walking by the court and I saw a group of people. They say, hey, $100,000, $120. I said, what's going on here? So now we're buying homes. So you buy homes like this?
That's a way
Yeah,
to buy
there are a lot of
homes
people
that
that
are very cheap.
There are a lot of people that have invested into tax lien, right? But me personally, as somebody who's God fearing, I'm all about lifting people up. It's you want to understand why is that person not paying taxes? Because in most cases, taxes, no matter the number, they're always lesser than a mortgage. So you can ask yourself a question: why is this person not paying the taxes? Are they alive? Are they dead? Or something happened to them? Are they sick? The city may not have all those information. I'll give you a very practical example, something that it happened, I think it was probably a few weeks ago. So this lady, she moved into a brand new neighborhood. She was receiving letters from the HOA. She ended up paying the home in full in 8 years. She stops getting the letter from HOA. So she thought, okay, maybe now that I've paid my home off, I'm free. Her home, she purchased at $200,000. Sorry, at $400,000. Somebody comes in that takes the home on those auctions because of tax lien, and she never received no letter. she received a call from some random number, and the call was like this: "Hey man, when are you moving out of home?" She's like, "Which home?" She's like, "My home." Now she's dealing with the city, so this is somebody who is responsible by all means. But it just happened that her letters were being routed to a different address for some reason. So that's why I don't take the advocate for tax lien, even though it's an easier way to get property for cheap. But at the end of the day, there's always somebody else who's getting hurt or who's being sabotaged into the deal.
Well, that's definitely
Typically, most of the time, that's what it is. Because if you let somebody know, hey man, you knock at the door, you talk to them, you have 3 months to move out of this house if you don't pay the taxes. Oh, trust me, they're gonna find a way to make that payment.
For the tax lien, it requires you like 3 months before they come and they put your house into auction and sell your house.
Some
Well,
6 months.
it's probably more. But remember, in the case that I get, this is somebody who's not receiving any type of notifications, and she was able to prove that by the lawyer. But the thing is, the transaction is already final in the city. So this new guy is like, I've already got my truck ready, my guys are already there, we're ready to move in. We just we didn't even know you were still inside the house. The lady's like, which home? I paid this home in 8 years for a reason.
Yeah.
And so it's just like one of those things, unfortunately. I understand sometimes in America, folks want to make money at any cost. And tax liens, I understand, I don't respect those folks' asshole. But I'm just one of those people that don't like seeing people crying because of something as little as, in this case, not receiving balance. Because if you talk to all these people, you let them know your property will be possessed. Trust me, they're gonna pay the taxes.
Well, yes, I know. That case, I really, really do understand. And it's kind of, I don't know, not just a house, but it's stealing, really.
Yeah.
I would consider it stealing. But I've seen cases of family, they don't like the land anymore, it's too expensive, they don't do anything with it.
Right.
I know a gentleman.
Oh, if you're talking about abandoned home,
yes,
that makes sense.
The dad passed away, the house is like 3-4 hours away from the city, which like nobody goes there, nobody lives there, that we still have to pay for it. We say, you know what? You abandon it, they don't pay for it, and then somebody buys it. Oh, how much? $1,000. You say, wait, what? Repeat, say that again? In this many acres, I don't know, it was like 5 or 7 acres for $1,000. We said, yeah, it's a small house in there.
Yep.
So that case exists as well, right?
In that instance, tax lien makes sense.
So what do you say? It's like, do you want to go check the land first, or do you want to talk to the owner first to know the situation? Or
Most of the guys that do invest into tax lien, they really don't care about the distance. No. They really don't care about this. They can purchase
for a Christian guy who's a stand-up guy who heard somebody else's feeling. What do you advise? I want to go see the land or know the owner.
Well, it's like most of the time they will be able to post these homes online, right?
Yes,
so you'll be able to tell like this home they don't even cut grass.
Yeah.
You can go into my neighborhood. You are looking at all the grass and thinking that the home is abandoned. And you see cars outside and stuff like that. So there are always some points that you can tell whether or not this property is abandoned or not. So a property that's completely abandoned, I think it makes sense for it to be sold through auctions and
Let's
stuff
say
like that.
You give that is one of the example you given that women couldn't receive any notification, any warning or anything. And let's say it's not abandoned house or anything. Let's say it's a family where they divorce. And they are not paying their taxes because their husband said like, oh no, I'm not part of the house no more. I'm not paying the taxes. And the woman was like, oh no, I'm not paying. You should pay the tax. And they do 8 months, 10 months without paying taxes. And then what? The county come, possess their house and put it in the auction because they are not paying their taxes.
Buy that house.
So what would you say?
Hey.
Would I come and do that and just leave it without doing anything?
That's why when you are purchasing a home, when you are signing that very first, when you are signing in the documents, you will sign over some 50, 70, some cases some 100 pages. You like the lady's talking, you think you are understanding that, but you're just excited that you're receiving the property. All those clauses are in there of what happens when you don't do this. So the city just doesn't wake up one day and be like, okay, we're gonna kick you out. You have gone against the laws. And most of the city, this is America, they will try. Like, I've had people knock at my door. Hey, appraiser, we are here, tax exemption, stuff like that. Okay, cool, I'll take care of it. Even HOA, they will literally make sure that they have been sending you letters in the mail and you have not responded. And this one time they actually come, they put it by your door side, so whoever touches the door can see that HOA stopped by. You know, it's just one of those case-to-case scenario. You're gonna see what's going on. But overall, I'm one of those guys. I'm like, hey, somebody's being screwed into this deal. Because if I purchase my home for 500,000, regardless of what happened to me, it'll make me cry if somebody else can purchase that same home for 100. Because I'll be like, why didn't you guys just give me an option to just rebuy my own home at 100?
Yeah.
Or
You can still buy it. Actually, with tax,
but you don't know that your home is.
Exactly.
No,
you
you
can
can-
buy it
you
for
can
that
still
lady. The
buy
example
it.
he gave.
Yeah.
She didn't even know the house
No,
was being
actually,
sold.
with tax lien, right? With tax lien, you can still rebuy your house. How? Because if you don't have anyone bidding to that property, it can still yours. Or if you have just one person bidding to that house, you can still require that property again. So it's only if somebody, more than two people have bidded to that house and then pays more money.
That's true?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know.
that's
I
how
was
it
just,
works.
I
You can
just
still
learning about it, and I was
yourself. You
very
can
interested in
still
that.
bid now in that house again.
Did you have a mortgage on that property initially, or
Which
not?
means the bank will come for it as well, because
if
the
you
bank
had the
expecting
mortgage,
money.
the person that owns the home is really the bank
Yes.
until you pay out the mortgage. If you haven't paid out the mortgage, you just the person who's in the house, but the documents and everything is still with the
The
bank.
bank. The bank still own the house. The bank will come.
Most of the
for it.
time when homes are being liquidated in this type of scenario, it's a home that we've already purchased off. The parents pass it down to a child, and the child, for whatever reason, they're being negligent on it. They don't pay taxes. They're not paying the HOA and stuff like that. They're not responding to mails. That's when you start going to these other routes. But if it's like something that you just signed a mortgage 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you never paid it off fully, the bank still owns the right to that home.
Right.
But before the bank takes the house, they will give some other people the chance to buy the what's called to continue paying.
Oh, yeah. The bank,
Instead of
that's
the bank
one
to take the house, you will just continue to pay the rest of the money that the people owe the bank. That's what I
Trust
heard.
me, no bank wants to repossess a home.
No,
I don't know if you guys knew that.
No.
Really?
No,
Banks
no,
don't like repossessing a
They don't
home.
want to. They want to
Because-
they want to keep you on that mortgage. As long
They want
as-
to keep you on that mortgage as long as
They're
possible.
making money off of that.
Yeah.
Really?
Because-
we're glad to take it
The
back.
longer-
You already have the money and the house.
The longer you keep the mortgage, the longer they keep you on the mortgage, the more money they're making.
Yeah.
Because
That's how they make
if
the
they are
money.
selling a home for 400,000, you bring them 400,000, they're not making anything.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, we're going to give this to a guy that's going to take 30-year mortgage. So, and then on top of that, they have to go through the paperwork, hiring a lawyer and stuff like that. They don't want to deal with none of that. Their businesses are making money, not losing money.
I see.
I think we're going a little bit fast for the audience.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so real estate.
Sure.
Let me just define something with you that you mentioned. You mentioned liquidity. For those that don't understand, liquidity is just a way of just taking cash out of something. And typically, when you have a home, a single-family property, over years it's going to build up in equity and appreciation. And say, for example, you bought it for 400,000, and maybe after 10 years, 15 years, it's at 600,000. You can take out 200,000 at liquid. There's various different ways you can do that by HELOC, home equity line of credit, all sorts of different stuff. Let me kind of switch things up. With what's going on in California, properties are burning. We have a lot of people that are speaking about the fact that various different insurance agencies pulled out.
Yeah.
What would you say to the situation that's going on?
Well, it's definitely an unfortunate situation of a lot of things going wrong at the same time.
Tragedy.
Because, I mean, when you're hearing about $42 million not having an insurance, it's crazy. But yet the city allowed those insurance companies to move out anyway. But those insurance companies, they move out. They never refunded those guys all the money that they took. You know, but it's one of those unfortunate situations. But more so, I'm looking at it from this perspective. What are the chances that the fire is going to be?
A lot.
Because when you look at the level of homelessness in the
San Francisco, LA.
you're like, is this America?
Yeah.
Now imagine you are sitting in that car and somebody's living in a $42 million mansion. I'm not giving them the right to burn anything, but I'm just saying, what are the chances that this fire becoming a system retaliatory of people just expressing their contentment? I'm not saying that's what the case is, but if you're going to be analyzing what took place, you have to turn out the cards. And I'm just turning one of the cards of a possible scenario. That's number
There's
one.
allegedly a person that was arrested for working around with a blowtorch, burning, starting fires and so in every corner in LA. That's allegedly.
Then the
Right, it's
second
not
thing,
a fact.
something's supposed to happen
You
in
got
what
arrested.
is it, like World Cup or something? What's supposed
Yeah,
to
the Olympic in 2029.
So I also heard something like maybe it's the Olympic because they try to make sure that whatever they
They build new
that
buildings.
people can afford to live in those, because if all the properties owned by multimillionaires, how can you
But no, the sad
really
thing
got
is, the sad thing that I feel is for people who will not have homes. And then when FEMA comes, they will give them a person who lives in a house that costs $5-7 million. And you're going to give them $750 for what happened to the house. It's really sad. It's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy for
It's a
sure. For
tragedy.
sure.
Yeah,
But-
and I believe the biggest
but I have a
company like
question.
BlackRock will come and start buying the lands. And I feel bad for those people that your house is $5 million, and then they give you $200,000. Since you don't have anywhere else to go, you're gonna have to take it to go find a place to live. What do you think about that?
I think it meant that, oh man, I'm not trying to sound insensitive or anything like that, but don't you think if somebody owns a $20 million home, they have $1 million?
At the very least.
I expect a lot of those people to move out of California, because let's face it, California has been a mess for a long time. It's a structural mess. It's a mess on education. It's a mess on immigration. It's a mess on debt. It's a mess on traffic. There's just a lot happening in California, and unfortunately, this might be like, I don't want to call this a chance, but it might be like a wake-up call or a chance to press a hard reset on a lot of things, because, come on, man, like, the average home in California is at $1.2 million. So it's like,
You look at that, a $1 million house.
you've never made $1 million in your whole life, but you have a debt of $1.2 million. That's a lot of money. So, but I don't expect the land to suddenly get cheaper because everything just got burned down. But at the same time, I feel like the city might be able to just hear each other's out, because California has been a subject of frustration, not only for California, but also for the entire America. We are seeing how California real estate, how it's impacting Texas real estate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are here,
Especially
we have
with
homes.
Austin.
Yeah, we have homes for $300K.
Yeah.
And these guys, they just sold their one property. They have $2 million.
Yeah.
And he comes into the neighborhood, they can purchase the next 6 properties. Suddenly you're the builder, you're like, this guy's got money. So you start increasing the property prices.
Yeah.
And
It's crazy. Even if you look at not just Texas, but Arizona. Arizona's becoming the next. If you go to Scottsdale,
what's in Arizona? That place is hot.
Texas is not too bad. Arizona is too hot too, right? I mean,
Monsters and heat.
Scottsdale, Scottsdale, Arizona, and Phoenix over there is because within the next 5-10 years, it's gonna become like Los Angeles. Maybe not with the Hollywood and everything else, but I'm talking about just the number, the price of the homes.
Yeah.
It's becoming very expensive because a lot of those people from Los
They're
Angeles
leaving.
are flooding into
They're leaving.
Scottsdale.
They're flying to Austin,
Coming here.
Florida, moving. Yeah. There's a map. They look how many people are leaving every state every year and where they're going and which states are receiving more people every year. Texas and Florida are ahead of every other state. And
I don't blame them at all.
The two states that are losing more people is New York and California.
Yeah.
But the thing with New York is they're receiving more people. People are leaving and going. But in California, it's one-way trip.
But what's happening in New York is it's also interesting, because people are living in New York because New York is becoming unaffordable, right? But then there's this documentary, I want you guys to check it out. I think it might still on YouTube actually, where it says 80% of the skyscrapers in New York are actually empty.
Yep.
Oh. So you're like, what's going on into this place? And it's totally legal, because people, they have the skyscraper. Not that they have any plans for it whatsoever. They're using those for tax loopholes.
Yep. It's kind of money laundering in the legal way.
I can just imagine somebody asking me in Africa, Chris, what do you own? I own the Empire State Building. What's inside? Nothing.
Really nothing. $50 million apartment. What is in there? It's empty.
It's empty. And people are,
Yeah,
Okay.
empty.
Grace, what would you say to somebody who wants to invest outside of the U.S. and in Africa?
oh man, that's the new gold mine. If you're not gonna jump into AI, if you're not gonna jump into artificial intelligence, you really have to consider Africa. You know, I wish I could tell folks that Africa is the future, but Africa is really, it's happening right now. Africa is no longer that village thing that they used to show us on TV. Africa is changing. You go to places like Johannesburg, Cape Town,
Yeah.
somebody has to tell you you're in Africa.
Yeah.
It's more beautiful than a lot of places, even in the United
Beautiful in
States.
California, I'll tell you that. I guarantee you that.
And now also the institutions of Africa are becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, obviously, if you're in the businesses of making money, it's always about looking into long term. What are you getting the value out of this? We have Microsoft that has gone to Kenya, so that's huge.
Sure.
You have IBM that has gone into Angola.
Okay.
That's huge. You have Xerox that has gone into Congo. That's huge. So you have all these big companies that are going into Africa. When they go, they are not bringing the average guy who's on the side of the streets. You know, they are bringing engineers, and those people, they need a place to stay. And so all of a sudden you are seeing people investing more and more into real estate. Now, because Africa for a long time has been overlooked, now is the best time for you to position yourself into what you want to see to be the next Chicago, the next Atlanta, the next Dallas. This is really the time. And yes, you have some area in Africa that are still somewhat expensive, but largely speaking, Africa is still fairly cheap. Now you have to consider, you know, your beliefs, and because a lot of people when we talk about Africa, they think it's a country, right? But they don't understand that place is so huge. You know, how big is Africa? Let me put it into perspective. Texas will fit 3 times in Congo.
Yeah.
That's how big.
Yeah.
Just imagine Texas. So so this is a moment where people are structuring themselves, positioning themselves for the long term. And you know, everyone is looking into what can I do, what can I do, what can I do. And realtors right now, they've gone to building to, you know, in the Middle East, they're like, it's nice, but it's hot. You know, but then they look into Africa, they're like, oh, these guys still have real trees, real birds. And they are bringing all these innovations, all these infrastructures that are feeding with nature. And you are seeing it as becoming a trend where more and more people, they may choose to invest in Africa, they may choose to live in Africa, but they are going to Africa more so often, and that's a good thing. So I tell all my young people out there, hey, buy land in Africa. You can buy a lot of land, you can buy small land, you can buy your ranch for little to nothing. For little to nothing. I was in Congo not too long ago. I ran into this team that's building this real nice project, and they took me out there on top of this beautiful mountain in Kinshasa. Even though there was nothing built, but because the presentation was nicely done, and I love anything that has to do with mountains and all that, I was like, you know what, I'll put my name on it. And you know, this is really the time to start positioning ourselves for what is to come, because believe it or not, hey, America, everything is $1 million. Is everybody willing to be in debt for that much? For most people, the answer is no. And the best alternative they have is Africa. So I expect Africa to remain this role for the next 20 years. I expect things to change pretty quickly. I'll give you a very good example. Go look at Ivory Coast. You have part-time people. Just in 2000, Ivory Coast was having a war. Look at Angola. Look at Rwanda. You think like you're in Malibu. And the place is really beautiful. And a lot of places are building. Kinshasa just announced the construction of a brand new capital. Cairo just is finishing up a capital. Senegal, Mali, all those places, they are building. So if you don't invest in today, there's a high chances what might not happen to you, but your children might find themselves a stranger on their own land. So I just tell the young folks, hey, go all in plus, go all in plus, what do you have to lose? $3,000?
There's so many places, so many areas to invest in Africa.
Yes.
What I would say, I mean, it spans, you just mentioned one, real estate. It's a big area to invest in Africa, whether it's land or just properties, various different things. There's also mining. That's big.
Yep.
And then there's agriculture, which is a whole different. And then there's logistics and transportation.
Yep.
There's so many areas in which you can invest in Africa that a lot of people neglect, or they're just not educated. They don't know about. And a lot of people, because they're not educated, they don't know. They're scared. There's that fear. So how would you remove? What would you say to remove some of that fear from people that may be watching?
See, fear is an emotion, right? Fear is an emotion that can be a warning. It's not like fear is not a bad thing as we try to portray it to be. Fear just might be simply, hey, make a little pause, think about what you're doing. But what I tell people is, don't believe everything you see on TV. Just hop on the plane and see if the plane is going to land. You know what they say? That the plane that arrived on time, won't make it on the news. It's always the plane that crashes that makes it on the news. The question becomes, when was the last time you watched on the news they say a plane crashed because it was going to Africa? So that means all the planes that took off, they all arrived safely.
Yeah.
So there are airports in Africa. You know, there are airports in Africa, you're going to arrive safely. The least you can do is look. The thing is, in America, we have like some 20 plus country.
Yeah.
So you have
100
much.
feet. Wait. No, 120. Wait. 120.
In America?
No. In Africa.
In Africa, we got 56.
56.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now
56
imagine,
countries.
you have more countries to visit in Africa than you have in America. So if you don't like into one place, try another place. If you don't like this one place, try another place.
Yeah.
They have all the type of climates you can pick up. You don't like the cold, you go up north. You don't like the up north, you want something in the middle, you go right in the middle. You know, they have something for everybody. Some people, they want to be close to the water. Some people, they want to be close to the jungle. You like monkeys, they have it all. You want to be close to the lion, they have it all.
I mean, you mentioned something. I focus more on the emotional part.
Yes.
Where you mentioned fear, right? Well, I would say it's there is this book that I'll suggest to everyone to read it, especially men. If you want to master your emotional intelligence, read How to Master Your Emotions. So that book says, and I will experiment that, is emotional just emotion. They are not. There's no good or bad emotion. It's the way you interpret, the way you actually interpret the emotion that makes it bad or good. And fear or anger or any type of emotion can be a fuel that you can use to push you towards something that you can do. Let's say you are scared that in Africa is a jungle, the way they show it in the news, like Africa is a jungle, or if you go there, there's always war or something. But you go to China, you go to Iran, you go to
Israel, Ukraine right now.
Ukraine, but you still go. But you still see that people are still in Africa, they live it. Why not take that fear as a motivation?
And that's how
And
folks,
sound like, hey, let me go and try to visit and see what it's
and that's how
going on.
folks, especially those that never been to Africa. If you have few African buddies, tag along with them.
Sure.
If you don't trust, you
One of
don't.
the best destination for vacation.
Right. If you don't want to tag along, you can search out these traveler guides, companies that do that can take you to Africa, show you what you need to see. Just pay them whatever you need to
travel
pay them.
agencies.
Travel agencies.
And now there's cruises going down to the coast of Africa, Senegal, and,
Uh-huh.
going down even to Rwanda.
Right.
Is it Rwanda or
Rwanda. So Rwanda is in Angola.
Angola, yes,
Yes,
right
yes,
there.
yes.
They go along. It's like
Yeah. So you can.
to South Africa from the north to South Africa.
Right. So you can find those guys, you go with them in Africa. The thing about Africa is this. Because you've been in America for so long, Africa can seem intimidating. Like you see people walking, you just get scared. You even forget that that's the human way of living. We're just minding their own business.
Yeah.
But hey, Africa is a place for us to go. If you are fearful, challenge those fear.
Yeah.
Just arrive and see if you're gonna wake up the next morning and
See if you
will.
I would tell this to the audience. If you want to get out of if you want to grow, you got to be able to get out of your comfort zone.
Sure.
Oh, by that, can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I was just sharing with, I'd like to share with the viewers that this upcoming July, I'm actually holding one of the largest diaspora comeback into DRC. So what we're looking for, we are looking for business people that are in the US that are looking to invest into DRC because the potential is even if we were to bring 10 million people, we still won't be able to address all the challenges that we have in Africa, right? But we are at least looking to start a movement where we are looking at investors from every walk of life that are living in diaspora because we want to show people like, hey, if you can just apply these simple ABCs, you feel like you can change the dynamics of your social life and things of that nature. So this July, I'll be announcing the dates pretty soon. For those that follow me on social media, my Instagram is Graceland MTV. I'll be
I will be
posting,
connected down below.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we are leading at the bare minimum. We are taking over 100 diaspora members that are looking to invest into DRC. So if you are somebody who is still on the fence of whether or not you should tap into it or whether or not you should travel to Africa, it's 100 of us, so they can't just kidnap you by yourself. So, use it as a chance, call me, see how you can be a part of this project.
Yeah.
Let's go to Africa. Let's go see the lion.
I'll definitely be a part of
Me
it,
too.
joining you on
Yeah.
this. And I hope
Sure.
you guys.
Let's make it happen.
If you
It's going to be something
come to
big.
Grace,
Yes.
I mean, actually, this is an opportunity for everybody. It's not just man. No, even if you a woman, you really there's something that a lot of people are so scared to go invest in Africa because of the story and experience that people have had. Based on they send their money to Africa to the member of family, and then they got scammed, they lost everything. So now you're just not sending your money. You're not just hearing from story. Now you got to experiment by yourself. So the only thing that you're gonna do, take that courage, get out of the comfort zone. Like Taylor just said it, the comfort zone is the worst place you can be because in comfort you don't grow. In the comfort you stay the same person over and over again. So July, Grace is hosting a really great, phenomenal trip for all investors. It doesn't matter how much you have. If you have an idea, you have something that is in your mind, something that you want to invest, something that you want to start, that can even just give 2 person a job. That is a great idea that you can bring. Just even 1 person a job. Come in, connect. Let's create that dynamic. Let's create that movement. Let's go help. You came here, you have the potential, you have the money, you have the education. Don't stay there just complaining and say, oh, why my country, those leaders, they don't. No, you now have the opportunity to bring that change. Because there is a quote that I will tell you. If you change the way you look at things, the thing you look at change. So, don't look at the leaders. Change the way you look at those leaders. And you will see the way things change. So, Grace, people will come to you and all of us. We go back to Africa.
Hey, let's make it happen, man. Let's make it happen. I'm really excited about this project being put together. I know we had started this group on WhatsApp where we are communicating on and off. But the reason to that is because we want to make sure that we give people as much of information as possible. So we are taking a lot of time to put all this information on the websites as far as hotels, sponsors, where they're going to be sleeping while we are in DRCs and different places that we will be traveling and the potential cost of it. Okay. Now, me personally, nobody's paying me a dime. We're just looking for folks that are up to something in the US or any diaspora that are looking to make a positive change in DRC. By positive change, because the thing is, when you ask people like, what do you do? I'm just a dentist. The way they say I'm just a dentist, they think they are thinking about the millions of dentists that we have in America. We have whole cities in Africa where there's not a single dentist. So you can just go and teach people what you know, and there's no such thing as a small impact. Because while we won't be able to change every single person, at the very least we'll be able to inspire other people to say, hey, let's give DRC a chance. I say as DRC goes, the rest of Africa will follow.
Yeah, sure, that's right.
We need more
That's right.
motivated individuals like that. It's good.
So now, like as every business, right? There's pros and cons in every business.
Yes.
So what would you say are the pros and cons of investing in real estate?
Ooh. The cons of the pros and cons are just the cons.
Yeah, pro and con, pros and cons.
Well, the pros and cons is when you are looking at the dynamics of real estate, especially here in the United States, you are told that about 80% of all millionaires, they either make their money into real estate or they maintain that status by investing in real estate. The reason is because real estate is the only assets in the United States or in the history of the world, I will say, that always appreciate over time. It always goes up. Rarely you'll find people that buy property for extra million and then sell it to the thousand. So that's a one con. If your motivation is to make money, you may want to pay to give a hard look into real estate. That's the first thing. Now, that's one pro. So to give one con is you have to be willing to learn. Real estate will keep you a forever student. You cannot be ignoring the news, or else you're gonna wake up just like you woke up. You went on vacation, you came, your home just burned down. Why? You were not watching the news, and you were watching this beautiful multi-million home that remained the only home standing within the community of where all homes were burned. What did that guy do differently? He says somebody told me to put sprinklers. Something as simple as sprinklers saved one home out of an entire community. So that's why I say you have to be learning. You have to keep up with news. You have to know what's trending. All those stuff. That's one thing. You must learn to speak the language of real estate. I cannot emphasize it enough. It has its real challenges. One day the interest rate is low. The next day it's back to the roof. But you have to remain afloat. You have to know what are your motivation. But me, one of the reasons I love real estate is just the ability to see people's life improving. My story is very simple, if I may, in 30 seconds. I came in America, my family were living in an apartment. I asked my father why. He gave me a simple, short answer. He says, because owning a home is expensive, you have to deal with X, Y, and Z. I grew up knowing living into a home was expensive. I met my wife, the very first thing she was asking me to do is to buy a home. I'm like, why do we have to deal with X, Y, and Z? Why we can get into an apartment dealing with ABC? She said, no way we're gonna lose money. So from her saying no to me, I started then comparing the pros and cons. Why should I not? And by the time I purchased my first property, I called my dad. I'm like, hey dad, who told you that owning a home was difficult? Because according to me, this was like probably one of the simplest things I've ever done in America. Now I did it, it worked for me, and since then I became an advocate of making sure that people are owning, because hey, I can live in a home across the streets from an apartment unit. You've been in that apartment unit 5 years, and I've been in a home for 5 years. The day you are you'll be moving out of that apartment. The landlord of that unit never knew that you live in that apartment. They won't send you a thank you letter. They won't be like, okay, because you are moving, we're giving you money for your moving expense. They won't do none of that. But the day you are moving out of your own personal home, you have some equity that will be following you. So it's also one way to invest. But obviously, you want to make sure that you are doing it the right way. You are speaking to those that have the right information. If you are looking to make money in terms of just doing business or real estate, I cannot advocate it enough. Find yourself a mentor. If you are looking for me to mentor you, hey, Graceland MTV. I should say I wish there was like an office where I can run to become the president of all the realtors in Dallas. But my hope is to lift up my community, to help as many people as I can. And some people, they think like we do this for money. Money is just a result of being effective. And I'm just looking to just see people alive and level up.
Yeah, but money is a byproduct of what we're doing. And actually, I want to really pinpoint on something that so many people might have a similar question. Let's talk about a down payment. So I want to purchase a house. Should I really have a down payment saved in my bank account? Or should I go get down payment as a loan and come and pay for my house?
I'll probably think having that already set up, it's a good idea because if you go get it from the bank, then you have to pay back to the bank anyway. So I think saving it up, it kind of it's giving you an early stages of discipline of having money to your bank account. You cannot go wrong. But most that down payment is never much. Most of FHA loans in America is 3.5%. With 3.5% of the price of the home, you can get any keys in America as long as that is your first home. Now, old days used to be for you to get on a conventional home, you'll have to pay 20%. But nowadays, with these interest rates and the home prices being up through the roof, most of these builders they're giving you the second and third home at 5%. So anywhere between 3.5 and 5%, you should be able to get yourself any home you desire.
What about
As long as you can pay.
zero down payment? I've
Well-
got those options as well. I'm still even $1.
Yeah, those,
DSCR loan.
I have no idea what that
Yes,
is.
sir.
all those, they will tell you
DSCR loan.
they will tell you that this home is zero down payments. But what you don't really know is nobody does business to lose money in America. That home was going to be 415 anyway. So they just wanted you to feel good. The home was going to be 400,000. But they noticed that you have to come up with $15,000 as a down payment. So they are noticing that they are not selling. So to play on your psychology, guess what they do?
Yeah.
They make the home 415 and zero down. So you're excited that the home is zero down, but you just gotta pay for it.
The psychology of money and
Psychology,
and marketing.
I moved to America, I was like, why is everything with 99 at the end? Why is this banana 0.99? Why is the shoes 4.99?
Oh, it's
Why is
$1.
13.99? They're like, because if they put the one, it's gonna if you see a banana 4.99, you're more likely to purchase that one than the one that says 501.
Yeah.
So it's just they just feel
Psychology. Yeah, that's completely good. That's really good. I mean, real estate is a really huge, I'll say, field where I'm still learning. I'm really learning, and thank God I've got Taylor, I've got Grace, and so many people. And I know a lot of people, young men or women, are out there. They're also so interested to really learn about real estate. And all we're talking about here, we cannot talk about everything in a single episode or everything in a single podcast. So let's say that one day somebody is so interested to really learn more about real estate. What do you suggest? Is there any book or is there any seminar? Is there any workshop? Or do they need to contact you in person to come to you? Hey, look at Taylor or look at Grace. I want to really learn a lot about real estate. Can you show me? Can you teach me? Or can you suggest me something? Bring us a little bit into that. What would you say?
Yes, so I do offer some type of mentorship. If you're looking to invest, obviously, I'd love to get a chance to get to know you. And the reason we try to meet our prospect is so we see whether you're a good fit for us to be able to do business together. That's on the first end. In terms of whether I can suggest any resources, there is a successful book on real estate. It's literally called BRRRR. What that stands for is BRRRR. Thank you. Buy, rent, what's the other R? What's the
Google bigger pockets.
Yeah, you may. That will have. But anyway, look up the book. The book is called Bird. Look it up. It has enough insights on the real estate. Like for a simple title, they kept the book as simple as they can to give you as much information as you can. But like I said, the person that wrote the book, you may never get his contact. Look for who is into the industry. It's gonna say about
Rehab, rent,
refinance, and repeats. Thank you.
Okay, so going into that title, what would you say where somebody will start? Do you want somebody to start a short term first, or short term rental, or should somebody do the turnkey, right?
Turkey property, just a property that's already ready.
Yeah, or should they do like wholesale? Should they do
No, I would say
sleeping? What would you say? Where would somebody start if they want to do real estate?
Well, once again, your capital determines everything. But I'll say start small so that way you can kind of mitigate the risk. You can see where you need to make some strategic changes and stuff like that. You buy, you study because you have to declare are you trying to do short time rental? Are you trying to do Airbnb? What are you trying to accomplish? Right? So but I would say before you start doing all those flipping and stuff like that, I would say first of all make sure that you own the property yourself. You know what's expected out of it. Because what if you're doing Airbnbs, right? And somebody else you're not receiving the mail, for instance. I've seen people, they're literally doing Airbnb, but the mail is going to their Airbnb address. But they are not with the mail. So they are not keeping up with electricity, water, and stuff like that. So you have to know the very minimum that's required out of somebody that owns something. And as you get to sit down with your mentor, which I cannot stress enough, they'll be able to guide you into how you can mitigate those risks.
I would say don't start small. I would say start big.
This guy got so much money. Yes. I was like, bro, he's manifesting million.
No, I was like, bro, why are you telling to start small?
Is your family on the bank?
And we were at a conference together when you heard this.
Mm-hmm.
If your dreams don't scare you, forget about it.
Y'all trying to get me to open the Bible.
Stop big. Just get the right mentorship.
Right,
connect with the right people to put you in that position. You don't need to.
Well, Taylor, that's what I say. I think what's determining how deep you're gonna swim into the water, your very first question should be how much capital you are willing to invest. Like if I only have 500,000. It doesn't matter what you tell me, I have to try to work with that 500,000. But you're different from me if you're starting with 50 million. You know, so it's kind of, even though we are growing together, you are growing in value by the rate of, I don't know how many exponential compared to my number.
Yeah.
So if you have the money for it, go off for it. But I can never stress it enough. Get yourself a mentor. If you don't have a mentor in Airbnb, in real estate, I don't want to say you will fail to discourage you, but you're going to run into a lot of headaches. And to just prevent yourself from having all those headaches, you're going to deal with the city, unnecessary headaches. So you're going to make sure that guys that are in the game are telling you, hey, we're putting our money here, this is why we're doing it, and this is why we shouldn't do it. And just having all those inputs in your life, it's going to go a long way.
Definitely, yeah, that's great. That's good. So, like I was saying, it's really, really long, and you're watching right now. So, listen closely. In any single business, you need somebody to guide you. It's like if you're going to school, it's not because you're dumb. No, it's because you want to know something. You want to know how to do something. That's why you go to school. Because if you knew everything, you would not go to school to learn how to do it. So you want to start investing, you need to really get a person who is already in the game, somebody who already know how to do it. Then that person can help you and make you really avoid the headache that they had before. Even they learned the hard way, they lost a lot of money, they run into like getting a lot of bills that they didn't know. Like Taylor said, unnecessary headache. You don't really want to have unnecessary headache. So get a person, either it's a person you know, or if you don't know anybody, you have Taylor, you have Grace, you link up, learn. And I'm telling you, I'm learning too, because I don't know anything about real estate, so I'm learning. And actually, we've been in this conference, like 3 days conference about real estate, but it was more into tax lien. It was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday today. So why? Because I want to learn, and I told Taylor, and then he's taking me in the game. So
I see why I got put into hot water on tax.
No, it's just like learning. We're just trying to know things, stuff, and whatever. So what I'm saying about a person who's listening is try to get yourself a person who can help you to go where you want to be. because you cannot go wherever you want to go without being taught or without accepting that I don't know it, let me find somebody who can help me. So by that, I have two questions for you, Grace. The first question, I'll come back to the question I asked you last time, and you told me that we will ask you to the next episode.
Oh,
I
Lord.
didn't forget that. I really have
I'm
a
afraid
good
I'm going
memory.
to say, let's ask you on the next one.
And we would like that.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
the question, I would prefer calling them the two harsh questions. The first question would be, what is the thing that most people will value but you don't?
Oof. What's something that most people will value that I don't?
Ask it on the next episode.
You know, people value time with their pets. And people value their pets. I don't care for animals. Like,
Hey, they're gonna cancel. I was like, that guy just
hey, no. I'm not abusive to them, but it's just kind of like, you know, that it's like an extra unnecessary care for no reason. Like,
Okay.
you gotta go to the grocery store now, you're going to Petco for no reason. But hey, I don't want to get canceled. I'm not saying
You know,
pets
if
are
you know,
bad.
if you know like that with pets, you need a goldfish.
Okay. Oh wow. I'm not
Oh my
need to walk there.
gosh. Did I get myself in trouble? This is interesting.
So,
What was you looking to hear from me? What are some other guests say that the value that
no. That's
money? I value money. Money is very important.
People say different things.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't have any particular answer that I was expecting from you. It's a question I just asked you. Because if you ask me something, the same question.
Let me ask you a question. What's something that other people value that you don't value?
Something that most people value, but I don't. It's being misunderstood.
Okay.
Most people want to be understood by everybody. They want like their point to be accepted by people.
I don't understand. Can you elaborate?
That's why. Oh, that's so funny. I mean, that was really funny. Like most people in life, they feel like they need to be understood.
Right.
Whenever they say their point, they fight. Somebody needs to accept. Somebody will. That's why we have people being like, you hurt me because some. But if you don't understand me, that's okay.
So in other words, valuing feelings.
I mean, it's okay. So
That's a good one, really. I'm sorry about the pets.
It's alright.
It's alright.
There are people who are pet lovers. They consider them even as kids.
Yeah.
But I love pets. I love dogs.
It's
I even
gonna-
have two, but I don't consider them as kids. You know?
It's gonna be ironic if you guys come to my house and you find a dog.
I will say it now. Right. So actually, the second question is
Mm.
this question I asked it to one of our best guests before was, what is the most important things in your life?
Family is everything. The most important thing in my life is family. I love my family. I wish I could say I would go to war, but I'm such a peaceful man. And I just love family. I think they add another level of meaning to life. They give you joy even in the most hectic time you can possibly be. I have 3 boys. Like you all saw me, I was wearing this little thing on my finger. My son kicked me on my finger for no reason, and it hurts me like crazy. But as ironic as it is, I love him even more. And they're like the best thing that ever happened to me. Like you watching your little kids growing, you're like, man, this came out of me. Why me? Why did God choose me to take care of them? And obviously, I don't do this alone. I'm married, and my wife, she means the world to me because she's like it's like me, you double me. So in a sense, like
Wonderful lady.
right, like she's just been a tremendous asset to me and my aspiration. She will even for the things that I've done, everything I can do. She's like, Grace, I really think you'll be a good realtor. I really think you'll be a good realtor. Before you know it, I became a realtor. and I get paid and stuff like that. But family, I value family a lot, and outside of that, I'm a man of God. I value. I wish there was a button I could press for people to accept Jesus Christ. I wish there was a button I could press for everyone to just tune in and listen to me telling them follow Jesus and don't do things that you're not supposed to get into. And the reason I say that is because everything else, we're talking about real estate, we're talking about Congo, we're talking about you name it, everything will pass away. That's hard to think that you can chase this thing for your entire life only to realize that it was really meaningless. So what was the whole energy about? Not to tell nobody to not have any dreams or vision or anything or any passion. I'm just saying there has to be a foundation for why we do what we do. So those are probably the two things that I value the most.
That's wonderful. And if I may ask the last one, when was the last time you lied? And why?
The last time I did what?
You lied.
I lied. Ooh.
And why?
I lied today.
Oh my God.
Well, there's a line of seeing that there's a line of I got somewhere to be. There's a line that you're singing, but there's another line like, hey, I got somewhere to be. Can we talk later? No, well, I was just having a conversation with somebody that I know, and we had this podcast that was scheduled at an earlier time,
Yeah.
and I knew I had to be at that earlier time, so I told them, I was like, hey, I really gotta go. I have to be at this podcast is starting in about an hour. And I left. And then later on I found out that you told me to be at 6:30. So I was like, okay. But when I left, I didn't come to you. I went to a party. So the folks that saw me at the party would tell that lady that we were with Grace. So she would think that I lied. But you know, I think lying is only a sin if you felt bad about it. Wow.
Man of God.
Hey, that's a refusal, right?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, this question just is incredible. Thank you so much, Grace. We would appreciate your time coming.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Waiting for a really long time.
It's a blast. It's a blast.
It's an honor. Thank you so much.
It's a blast. Thanks for giving us the platform to just express the Lord that we know, and
That's
I look forward to coming back.
Yes,
That's me asking to
Oh,
come back.
Actually, we need to talk about tax.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's it was in the plan, but we,
Yeah.
you know how it goes. You know how
Yeah,
it goes.
so
So next time we're gonna
talk
focus
about
more about
taxes.
that.
And because most people don't have information about that.
Do they know that the tax strategies?
Just give a little heads up.
I'm also the owner of Sterling Tax Services. We have two offices. One is based here in Dallas, where we are in the City of McKinney. Office, oh my goodness, I wish I had the address memorized.
And actually,
You
you're
have a
looking
call,
for,
right?
for somebody to hire. I saw it on your social.
Ah.
Did you already get a person?
We already got somebody.
Oh,
We
okay.
already
Because
got
if you wanted a job,
We already got somebody hired for the season, so that's great. But you know, there are always other opportunities. So I think one of the biggest, one of the layer that makes a lot of changes in how much you get to take home is definitely taxes. Now, you being ignorant of taxes already shows that you are losing money. And I don't want to see my community falling from beyond. I don't want to see anybody falling from beyond. So I give the best taxes service there is. You come to me. Now, the thing is, most people, they just do tax preparation. What I actually do, I'm a tax strategist. You tell me your day-to-day, your earnings and things like that, businesses that and investment that you have. We'll get to create like a custom taxes on how you can modify your W-4 so that at the end of the year, you are not the one giving out IRS money, but IRS is the one who's paying you back. So the tax season has started. I'm in McKinney. I helped a lot of all 50 states. Anybody can reach out to me. Hopefully, we'll be able to put all this information under the podcast so folks can reach out to me.
Sure, for sure. So yeah, just a big shout out for Grace. You want to fill out for your taxes, so we're getting into you got your W-2, your W-4, whatever you get, bro. Like Grace is there, and he's gonna give you the best service ever. He's gonna help you, you know, your deduction, everything, show you what strategies and analysis that you can have to really help you out get back your money. Because actually, the first thing is whenever you go to work, every business you do, you don't even get your money first. It's just like they get your money, the taxes get your money first. Uncle Sam get your money first. But this man right here is gonna help you get your money back. So what are you waiting for? Actually, so his
I
information is
guarantee
right
if
here.
you're not satisfied, give you your money back.
So
You
he's gonna get your money back. So thank you so much, Chris.
I appreciate it.
We be blessed and everybody. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate for everything, and hopefully, thank you for watching and staying until right here. If this is your first time, please hit subscribe. Tell us what you think about it, and if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, please just let us know. We will bring somebody like Grace. We will bring somebody like all these great podcasts. Guests that we have. Remember, if you subscribe, you share to your friend, the bigger we get, the bigger the guest. So, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. Until then, see you in the next episode.